everyone around you. It's kind of like a code, if you want to put it that way, you know?
Yeah.
So everybody, we all know the struggle. We all know what it's like to come to a land that, you know absolutely nothing about, and then you just have to adapt to that. And, it's just, we're not here to demand anything. We're here to work. We're here to make a living. We're here to help our families. For a lot of people, for me, it was more, the opportunity to come here and learn English, have a better education, not get killed in El Salvador. My name is Katherine Rivas Lemos.
Okay. That's a good place to start.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
And why are we interviewing you today?
Why? To bring awareness and to show people that, we're not as scary as some people might want you to think.
Right.
So.
And we're going to focus and talk about an experience that you unfortunately had in Henrico County Jail.
Yeah.
That we did a lawsuit to help you with.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go through some basic information. You're from El Salvador. You're a dreamer, right?
Yes. I'm currently with DACA. So.
Right.
I'm what's considered a dreamer.
And you also have a pending U visa case.
Yes.
Which means that you also helped the police.
I did. It was crazy. But
you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah. So basically the iPhones, they take the live pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, that was something new that I guess a lot of people still didn't know about. So I was robbed. That's what happened.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So I was able to take a picture of the person that robbed me. And, it looked kind of it was a live picture. So you could see the person running and everything in the car that they took off, where they took off. So I gave that to the police and I showed them and I said, hey, this is the person. They wouldn't have had any idea who this was,
right.
or, caught him if it wasn't for those.
Wait.
Pictures.
I still don't know about live.
The live pictures?
Because he doesn't use an iPhone.
Because I don't use an iPhone.
Right.
So he had your iPhone, and while he had your iPhone, you were taking pictures of him?
So it was a different iPhone.
Okay.
Good, because
she got a new phone.
I had a new phone, yes. So it was a different iPhone. And then on my iPhone, I took a picture. When you have that live feature on, it records it as a video. So if I take a picture of you, it'll show you like not in your head.
Okay.
It's a Harry Potter. It's the Harry Potter pictures.
Okay, I understand Harry Potter.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a new feature at
Harry
the time.
Potter technology on the iPhone.
With the phone that you were holding.
With the phone that I was holding, yeah.
Okay.
So
I gotcha.
So I was able to give that to the police, and they didn't know that was a thing either. So
Oh, okay. But luckily you got enough in what you captured.
yes,
to
we
help
got
them out.
enough information so that we could, or they could catch the person, and they did. So
Yeah. And so this is one of those things that a lot of people maybe uninitiated to this don't understand, but immigrants sometimes have a hard time calling the police. Is that right?
yes, that is very true.
Why?
Because we're afraid that, we're going to be deported, or for some reason is going to end up being on us. Whatever it is that's happening, we're always hiding on the shadows, because for one, we've always walking on eggshells. So we always feel like we have to do things perfectly, be the best person you can be, which, you always want to do that. But for us, it's more of a requirement.
Like if you're not, you'll be punished.
You'll be punished.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be deported, and suddenly you're going to lose everything. And for someone like me, that is really hard, because this is all I know. So for me, being deported would be pretty much the end of everything, because this is what I know. This is where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to be deported, I don't have family there that if they saw me today would know who I am.
Let's talk about someone like you. So what age were you when you came to the U.S.?
I was 11.
11 years old.
Yeah.
And you're obviously a fluent English speaker.
Yes.
And where have you grown up?
Here in Henrico. I've lived in the same zip code since I got here.
Yeah.
You went to high school here.
I went to middle school here. I went to high school here. I've been working here. Like, I mean,
That's life.
this is my life.
Yeah.
You know, this is where I live. This is my life. To me, this is my country, even though to this country, I'm not.
When did you, like, how old were you when you realized, oh, there's a different standard for me? Like, I've got to be on my best or I might be punished.
Well, that was something that it was always taught to us.
Okay.
So since the beginning,
Mhm.
you know, and
Who taught that to you?
my parents
Yeah.
and really everybody that you're around.
In the immigrant community?
Yeah, in the immigrant community, because we all live up to the same standards. So, you know, it was especially my parents, but everyone around you. It's kind of like a code, if you want to put it that way, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
So where we all know the struggle, we all know what it's like to come to a land that, you know absolutely nothing about, and then you just have to adapt to that. And, you know, it's just, we're not here to demand anything. You know, we're here to work. We're here to make a living. We're here to help our families. For a lot of people, for me, it was more, you know, the opportunity to come here and learn English, have a better education, not get killed in El Salvador.
A good
Yeah,
goal.
that's very important.
Yeah. So
One thing that I want to point out to anybody who's watching is there's this perception sometimes that immigrants are dangerous, and we heard it in recent political cycles, right?
Yes,
The
yeah.
they're criminals and that kind of thing. But studies tend to show that immigrants commit crimes at a lower rate than U.S. citizens.
yeah.
And this is cold hard fact that I think people need to know better, is that immigrants do not commit crime at a higher rate than the
No.
average populace. In fact, immigrants tend to behave better, tend to drive under the speed limit, tend to not commit crimes at the same rate
Yeah.
as other people.
And not only that, but if a crime is committed against you, you don't say anything. We don't say anything. It's very rarely, like you mentioned earlier, that we speak up.
But you did, which is why you're
Yes.
in process for the U visa.
Which you might want to explain briefly, right?
What a U visa is.
What a U visa is.
So because of this phenomenon, I guess I'm speaking to the
You're
internet.
speaking to
I'm speaking to the
the
internet.
we're breaking
So
the third
because
wall
of
here.
this phenomenon that immigrants don't always feel comfortable talking to the police, there is a visa known as the U visa that immigrants who are victims of crime, generally victims of domestic violence, but also a whole other list of qualifying crimes, can apply for a visa here in the U.S. by virtue of having cooperated with police and helped out with their investigation. And so it's to encourage immigrants to report crime and make sure that those communities do get served. And
Yeah.
it's a largely successful visa, although it's so successful and it has a visa cap. And so the wait time for your U visa can be years.
Yeah.
And you've already been waiting like, what, 3 or 4?
It's been 5 years.
You probably have another 2 to 3 years, Catherine. I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
that's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, expectations are set. So
Good.
You're patient.
yeah.
But let's talk about, so DACA, pending U visa. We're still talking about a person like you. Tell us more about yourself. How are you involved in your community? Like, and what kinds of jobs have you held?
So right after I graduated high school, I actually started working at a restaurant.
Okay.
Because that's what there was.
Mhm.
And
When
that
you're
was
18.
That's what you
Yeah.
do when you graduate from high
yeah,
school.
you know, that's what you do.
A call
Everybody's
center, a
yeah,
restaurant.
you serve.
Right.
That's what you do. But eventually I was able to get a job at Wells Fargo, started off as a teller, and then eventually I was promoted. And then a few years after that, I went to SunTrust and I held a supervisor position there.
That's a bank.
Yes, SunTrust is
Okay.
a bank. Well, it was at the time, but now it's something else.
Truist.
Truist. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Truist now. So, so I was a supervisor at SunTrust, and then eventually I became a banker, and then I was moving, aiming to move out in my career, when unfortunately I was, can we say? that?
Yeah. Let's jump
Yeah.
into that.
I was actually, my DACA work permit didn't come in time, so I lost my job.
Right.
But yeah, as far as how involved I am in my community, I do. I love dogs. I love all animals, but dogs and cats especially. So I do go and donate, food, blankets for the animals. I try to help as much as I can. As far as the community, I do in with my dad. It's with my family, but with my dad especially. We collect clothing or feminine products, um, food, or whatever it may be, and we go and um, where we think we'll find some homeless people, and we, you know, give it to them and ask, where can I find more people that may need something? What do you need? Do you like if it's a woman? Do you need this? Do you need that? Or
That's incredible. How long you been doing that?
we've been doing that for about 6 years now.
And you just kind of do it on your own.
We started doing it with a church, but then it was a very small church. So it kind of, disintegrated. So it's my dad and I that do it now. So, but yeah, it's really not hard. It's really not. I mean, you can find something, like where when you go to Walmart and you see the boxes full of stuff that you can just get for like discounted prices. Just get a bunch of that and drive around. You're gonna find someone that
That's
needs
amazing.
something. Yeah. So it's really not hard.
Very cool.
Very cool. So that's a person like you. And, we've talked about, so even though your DACA expired in that instance, it did renew. So that was primarily due to delays and processing timelines,
Yeah,
which is a whole other nightmare for immigrants.
It was right around when COVID hit that everything and I mean absolutely everything was delayed.
Yeah.
So even though I do have to say Sandra's was wonderful and everybody that I worked with was wonderful, because they did actually wait for me 6 months. So until they couldn't anymore,
Right.
because they had to fill the position. I mean, there was obviously that void
Right.
at the branch, so they had to fill the position, and I don't blame them for that. But I'm thankful, and I will forever be thankful for them doing that.
Yeah. They obviously wanted you.
Yeah, they did. I did a good job, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the impression I have too. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is your detention under an ICE detainer at Henrico County Jail. And that's kind of, I know it's a heavy experience, and I'm really grateful for your willingness to talk about it. But let's jump right from the beginning. So can you tell us about that?
So, yeah, I mean, it was something that I had never experienced, something that I never thought I would experience. I was,
Let's actually step back. Why were you put in jail? What happened?
So it was, my brother was very intoxicated, and he was trying to leave the house. My dad was trying to stop him. We're all trying to stop him. And
Because you didn't want him to drive drunk,
right, we
right?
didn't want him to drive intoxicated because he was very intoxicated, and then he's not a big drinker.
Right. This was all unusual.
So that was
So you're worried he doesn't know how to
right.
handle
I mean,
alcohol.
obviously didn't know how to handle alcohol. So very intoxicated. So we wanted to avoid a tragedy from happening. So my dad tried to stop him. My brother started to get handsy, aggressive. So my sister and my mom had no idea what to do, and I was trying to stop my brother from leaving, and my sister ends up calling 911 to. I had no idea that she had.
Right.
She called 911, and so the police showed up, and something I forgot to mention. I had done my nails earlier that day.
You're celebrating birthdays, right?
Yes, we were celebrating birthdays. So every year, my family and I take a week vacation together. Every year.
A staycation?
A staycation. Yeah, that's right, because we don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's still fun.
So you're at home doing your staycation.
Yeah, so
You've done your nails.
I've done my nails. And so for people that don't know, when you do your nails, especially if they're thin, the first few days, they're very sharp. So
I would not know that.
I didn't know that either.
well, they are. And you know what's
Yeah.
crazy? The gentleman that did my nails said, I hope you don't get in trouble today with these nails.
Oh no. So as you look back, all these
Yes, as I look
things.
back, I'm like,
It's like foreshadowing.
yeah.
Okay.
So my brother was wearing a button-down shirt. So I grabbed him from the back and I scratched him. I scratched his chest.
Mhm.
And so when the police got there, he had taken his shirt off. So they saw that and they asked what happened. I told them what happened. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I told them what happened. So they arrested me and took me in.
What did they say though when they arrested you? Like, why arrest you?
That I recall, they didn't give me a reason why. They honestly don't remember what they told me, but
Right.
So you eventually found out they charged you with
yes,
assault on a family
when I
member.
saw the documents,
Mhm.
the warrant,
Right.
I think that's what it said on the
Right.
paper. It said that it was assault on a family member, even though my brother kept begging them, don't take her, take me. It was my fault. She didn't do anything. She didn't hit me. She didn't do anything. Take me, take me, take me. Leave her
Right.
alone.
Right. And we
He
have video of
pleaded
that.
We have
yeah.
video of
We have video of him
Yeah,
saying,
like,
do this.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
him doing this. And yeah, they still took me in and
Charged you with assault on a
charged
family
me.
member.
Yeah, charged me with assault on a family member. When I got there, they said that I was intoxicated, even though there was no sobriety test done.
Yeah. And you hadn't been drinking, right?
I hadn't been drinking. No, I hadn't been drinking because I was planning to go out that night.
Mhm.
So, I'm driving. I'm not gonna drink at
Mhm.
8 that night
When you're going out later.
when I'm
Right.
going out later. So, so they take me in. They say that I'm intoxicated and that I have to wait. Well, first they told me that um as the arresting officer has me in his car, he tells me, "Oh no, don't worry. They're just gonna dismiss your case. You're gonna be in and out. It's gonna be fine." So I'm thinking, why arrest me in the first place then?
What's the point?
Yeah. What's the point of arresting me if I'm going to be
Right.
in and out? Yeah.
Right. So, but when I get there, they tell me, "Oh, you're gonna see a magistrate. The magistrate's just gonna, let you go because you have a clean record. So they're going to give you a PR bond." I have no idea what a PR bond is at this time.
Yeah. So let's pause here just really quick. Had you ever been arrested before?
No,
And and you'd never been charged with any crime,
No.
right? You had zero criminal history.
absolutely zero,
Okay.
nothing.
So good.
They tell me that, I'm gonna see a magistrate. It's gonna give me a PR bond and I'm gonna be good to go. So I'm counting on it. I'm hearing it from multiple people, so I'm counting on it. So then eventually they tell me, no, you have to wait because you're intoxicated. So you have to, we have to wait until you're sober. And, that'll take 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours. So I'm okay. As they go and take my mug shot, which embarrassing, by the way.
Yeah. Never been through that before.
Never been through that
Right.
before. They're taking my mug shot. So I tell the deputy, can I please get a sobriety test done? Can I please? Because I'm not intoxicated and that's the only thing that's holding me here. And she said, no, we don't do that here.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, what can I do? But wait, at this point, I'm thinking I'll be out by 6 a.m, the latest, right?
Because it was around midnight.
It was
Arrested
around
you, right?
midnight.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm going to be out by 6 a.m. So, I wait. I sit down, I wait. And right at like 6 a.m, because, I was desperate, I go and ask and they tell me, no, not yet. We can't do that yet. 6 to 8 hours. So then I go
And
wait.
you've seen other people leave at that point,
Right.
right?
I've seen
yeah.
people come in and out
Mhm.
all night. And so, what was crazy? This girl that was there for shoplifting left before I did.
I'm sorry.
They
So you had a
thought she was sober.
conversation. Yeah.
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 So, and she hit a cop.
What?
Yes.
She assaulted a cop?
Yes. Yes. Well, she said she did. I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I don't know, but she
Maybe
said
they
she
didn't
did.
charge.
Probably not
I
with
don't
new
know.
nails.
Probably.
Maybe that was your downfall, was the nails.
The
Katherine.
nails, yeah. So, yeah. So eventually, I go and ask again, and they tell me, no, I don't know who told you that. You have to wait 10 to 12 hours. So then, I insist, and they tell me, well, right now shifts change, so we can do anything. And so I keep asking.
Mhm.
Multiple times I'm asking. And so we had a phone, like on the waiting area place. And it was around 10 in the morning. And, I'm thinking I should be out by now.
Right.
What's taking so long? So nobody's giving me any answers in the inside. So I decide to call my mom. And I'm like, Mom, can you please figure out what's going on?
Mhm.
And that's when she tells me, I'm going to say it in Spanish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Me dijeron que no te van a dejar salir porque migración te quiere. So they told me they're not going to let you out because immigration wants you.
Mhm.
So, and I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean immigration wants me? Like, my DACA at the time was still active.
Mhm.
Well, it is still, but
Right.
Yeah,
it was.
But at that moment, there
At
was
that moment, like, there was
you had
no
no reason to.
right, no reason for them to want me.
Mhm.
I hang up the phone and I go and ask again, and they tell me, no, we can't tell you anything. We don't know anything. Then eventually this deputy comes up and calls my name, and I'm thinking, great, I'm going home. Oh, I forgot the part where I saw the magistrate.
Yeah, tell us about the magistrate.
So when before I talked to my mom,
Mhm.
I went to talk to the magistrate. They did take me to see the magistrate, and the magistrate gave me the PR bond and told me that all I had to do was show up to court on Monday.
And do you know what a PR bond is now?
I do now.
What is it?
It's when you have a clean record, they kind of just, you don't have to pay the
Yeah,
bond.
you don't have to pay anything.
All you have to do is just show up to court.
Right. It's
Yeah.
an unsecured
Right.
bond.
Yeah,
Unsecured
an
bond.
unsecured
So
bond. Yeah.
basically, the magistrate said, you're free to go. You don't have to pay any money
Right.
down.
Yeah.
We'll see you on Monday.
Yeah.
Secured bond would be you pay money as long as you
Mhm.
show up.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, I didn't have to pay anything. All I
Yeah.
had to do was show up. And then the magistrate did tell me, if you don't show up, then you do have to pay.
Right.
So, that was clear. So, but after that is when, I continued to insist, asking when I was going to let out. The magistrate had already said that I could leave. And they told me that they couldn't give me any answers. And so then I called my mom, and she told me that immigration wanted me. So then this deputy comes over and calls my name. So I'm thinking, great, I'm going to go now. But no, she had a blue jumpsuit for me
Yeah.
to put on. So, of course, without telling me what's going on, we're booking you now because an ICE detainer or, because of whatever reason. I only knew because of what my mom told me. So,
Nobody at the jail told you.
Nobody at the jail
Nobody
told
told
me.
you why they were keeping you. They didn't say
Nobody.
immigration wants you. They didn't say ICE is going to pick you up.
They didn't
They-
give you any sheets of paper.
Never.
Right. And we'll hit on that later. But they didn't hand you
Nothing.
the ICE detainer.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And we find out later that 30 minutes before you meet with the magistrate judge, they received an ICE detainer.
Mm.
Right. So a request from ICE asking that the jail hold you for an extra 48 hours for ICE to come pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's been our experience. We've done this long enough that it feels like, they were waiting for the ICE detainer before they let you see
Yeah.
the magistrate. So
Like there's a possibility that the reason you didn't get let out was, well, if we wait long enough,
we'll get this.
we'll
sheet.
get
Yeah,
this detainer.
because I could have seen the magistrate the night before. Realistically, that's what they told me.
Yeah, they told you you'd be in and out. Right?
Yeah. So, so they take me, the deputy takes me to this room, and she tells me to change. That's when I completely lost it. I mean, I had been crying the entire time I was there.
But that's when the water was
But
really starting.
yes,
Huh?
that's when
Yeah.
I completely felt crushed. I mean, I felt like I had no hope. And the first thing I thought about was, I'm going to be deported. I'm going to lose my job at least.
Mhm.
If I don't lose my job, then at least, excuse me, if I don't get deported, at least I'm going to lose my job because now this is on my record. I work for a bank. And, you have to pass a background check and, get fingerprinted. So it's not, like it used to be just a serving job.
Right.
But, a bank is a lot more strict. Yeah.
Right. You're not going to steal money from the bank and a job.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
They have to make sure of that. So I thought I'm going to lose my job for sure. So then the deputy tells me, which was one of the most humiliating things that I've ever been through, excuse me, she asked me to get completely naked and bend over. So, and, I get that might be the standard, but I didn't deserve it.
Right.
So that was one thing. So,
we agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Did they tell you, did anybody say, oh, well, we suspect you have contraband or we have reason to believe you might be hiding something?
No, she did not.
It was just bend over and cough. Thanks.
Yeah, bend over and cough. Yeah.
And it was in the presence of one deputy.
One female deputy. Yeah. So, but I've seen it in movies before. So, and another thing that she told me was that I needed to pee in a cup for a pregnancy test.
And did she explain why they would want a pregnancy test?
She did not. And I complied,
why didn't you just say no?
Because I didn't feel like I could. And also because I was so scared that I'm thinking, whatever I do, whatever I say, it's just going to be count against me, it's going to be used against me. So, and especially, being in there and saying no to me, it's like, what are you doing?
Who are you to say no to us?
Right. Who are you to say no? And, and I thought I have to. That was it. So then I was taken to the nurse. And, of course, like I mentioned, I was bawling at the time. So I went and talked to the nurse, and the nurse asked me, what's going on? Are you okay? And so I felt like I could open up to her. She made me feel safe.
Because she wasn't like an officer.
Right. She wasn't like, and she actually showed like she cared a little because she's asking me, what's going on? Are you okay? What happened? She seemed to be somewhat worried about me. So I told her what was going on, and she said, are you sure that's what it is? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, well, usually when there's an ICE detainer, I can see it on my computer. And she pointed on her screen where it would be. So then I call my mom again and I tell her, when they asked me to go back and sit in the waiting area, because it was,
So at that point you've got some hope. You're like, oh, maybe this is not.
Yeah, maybe that's not what it is.
Mistake.
Yeah.
And this will all wash over.
Yeah,
right.
Delusional, of course. So I the way that they've moved people is they move people in groups. So I had to sit down and wait for other women to change so they could move us upstairs together. So that's when I went and called my mom, and she said, well, no, that's what they're telling us and they're not going to let you go. So when, they have, I guess, enough people change to go upstairs, they took us upstairs. At this point, it's around 1 p.m. on Saturday. I had been wanting to use the restroom for a while, and you have to ask.
Okay, that was my next question. Was you asked to go?
Yes.
Permission to go. Can I get a hall pass, please?
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it is a shared bathroom. So, and they do have, well, I don't know how they do it now, but at the time they separate men and women in different groups.
Yeah.
So, if you're standing, it has to be for a reason. So you have to go and ask, can I use the bathroom? And they said no, which I was like, okay. She told me you can use it upstairs when you go upstairs. I was like, okay, fine. It wasn't as bad at the moment. So they take me upstairs, and the deputy opens the door, and the first thing I noticed was, and I couldn't believe it, women everywhere. Women on the floor, women standing, women sitting down, women in just bad, hot, smelly conditions. So it was
It's
so
one
hot in
room.
there.
They're all crammed into one room.
Everybody cramped into one room. I mean, at the time, I think I told Jacob that I thought it was like roughly 40 women, but it ended up being more.
Right. So you told me that you were like, there were women everywhere, like 40 women in this small room. When we did discovery, what we learned is that you were in what's called a day room. It has 6 cells that are attached to it. And judging by the way they're designed, each cell is designed to hold 2 people. And we looked at they're not exactly regulations, but it's like the manual for how prisons are supposed to be built in Virginia. And there's supposed to be a certain amount of square footage per person. And so we could tell from the amount of square footage and the design of the space that the 6 cells and the entire day room was designed for 12 people, tops.
And the day room was designed for day use.
Yeah.
not
For-
for
it was
sleeping.
supposed to be a
sleeping.
common area
Right.
to play ping pong during the day.
Yeah.
Or it didn't have a ping pong
It didn't have
table.
a ping pong table.
Watch TV during the day,
Yeah.
do things. And the cells have big locked doors where you're supposed to sleep with locked doors.
Presumably for your safety.
for your safety
Yeah.
during the night. But the day room was being used.
Yeah. Well, but
Go ahead.
more than 40 people, Discovery showed later that you were in there that weekend with 58 other women.
Yeah.
So there were 59 women in that room.
59 of us.
And you're supposed to have something like 85 square feet per person. And you total had the square footage of the space of maybe a twin size bed, about 18 to 20 square feet total for your entire space.
That's assuming that the space was divided evenly between everybody in the room.
But that's not realistic.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you couldn't extend your arms without, touching 3 other people.
Mhm.
And what did they give you? Like you just...
So they gave me a pillowcase, just a case, no pillow.
It just seems so nice. Go, but keep going.
With a toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, and something else. I can't recall what it was, but I think it was like four or 5 things.
They gave you a pad. Did you say the pad? I don't know.
Oh yes, they also gave me a mat. Yeah,
a pad, like a rollout pad, like you'd have if you're camping or something.
So the other thing I want to point out here is like, this is Henrico County. Like, I think people think that this doesn't happen next door, in our neighborhood, in our communities. This is Henrico, which if you know Henrico, we have great parks. We have great public services. There's like a lot of attention in Henrico that's paid towards making this a great place to live. And it's a really terrible place to be in jail. I mean, I think that's true generally, but to squish 59 people into a space designed for 12 is
including
inhumane.
people that shouldn't even be there in the first place. So
yes,
it's completely unnecessary.
Right.
So, but yeah. So I get there and that's what I notice. A bunch of women, and I'm just thinking, and of course, it's my first time there. Never been through something like that. Never seen anything like that. I don't know anybody that's ever been through that.
Right.
And so I just stand and I'm like, where am I going to go? And there is absolutely no free spots for me to even, sit down. What do I do? Where do I go? So the deputy just doesn't care, closes the door behind her and she leaves. Right. So I'm looking and I'm like, where am I going to go? So the only spot available was under the dining table. It wasn't even under the table. It was the table and it had benches to like
built-in benches.
Yeah,
on this
built-in
table,
benches.
right?
Yeah. So I had to sleep under one of those benches, and you
obviously used the
why
bathroom.
did you have to sleep there?
because they decided to hold me there.
No, but I mean, like, there was no other
There
space.
was no other space. Yeah, there was absolutely nowhere else to be.
So could you walk around the room?
No, you couldn't. You could not walk.
So to
around
get
the
to that
room.
spot, you had to like push past.
Yeah, I had
other
to
women.
excuse me, I'm sorry. Let me go over you. I'm sorry, excuse me. And of course, again, never been through anything like that. Never seen anything like that. I am scared for my life.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know who I'm sharing cells with. And
At least one registered sex offender.
Right.
yeah,
So
We
that
find
was-
out later.
when we did discovery, we asked them to send over a list of everybody that was in the day room with you. And the first result that we opened in the email was somebody who was failure to register as a sex offender. So they weren't registered, but they should have been, which is kind of worse.
Yeah, it's worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of put my stuff down, and I had to sleep in like a fetal position. I could not, stand my feet, or my legs, were.
So I want to talk about, were you able, you were wanting to use the bathroom. They said you can use the bathroom when you get upstairs.
Yeah.
You got upstairs, and what was the bathroom
I
like?
go upstairs, and so, I'm thinking I need to use the bathroom. So I don't have any toilet paper. I don't know where to go. So I asked one of the inmates. She seemed the nicest. I asked one of the inmates, and I'm like, I need to use the bathroom. What do I do? And she said, well, you have to have your own toilet paper, and you have to ask one of them and see if they let you use it. One of the people in the rooms.
In the 6 cells.
The six cells each have a toilet.
Yes,
right?
they have a toilet. Yeah.
Okay.
So it said, see if one of them will let you use it. So,
right. So those are occupied, right? Those cells, like certain people have laid claim to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because they go and they claim whatever it is, they claim it.
And it's funny, when you first told me about all of this, like, obviously I believed you and I believed that it was crowded and stuff, but in my imagination and my mind's eye, there's no way that I could conceive of how small these spaces are.
Tiny.
Like, in my brain, you said that there were 3 beds, and I envisioned like a literal bunk bed and like another bed to the side, and then another door leading to a bathroom or something.
No.
Right.
It's
That would have
literally
been nice.
No.
It's literally door, toilet,
Yeah.
and then there's like 2 metal platforms built into the wall, and then a cot immediately next. They call it a cot, but it was just a metal bed frame.
It is a metal bed frame, yeah.
And not even a bed frame. It's thinner than a twin size bed.
It's
and
tiny.
the metal toilet doubles, the toilet tank doubles as
the drinking water.
As the drinking water. I have to say that
that's gross.
It's so gross. I was there for 3 days. I did not have a sip of water from there. And
where did you get water?
From the kitchen downstairs where we went to get our lunch.
That seems wise. Just
I didn't know where the water came from either. But what you don't know, you can't hurt you. So I would just, because I also didn't want to eat. But I thought to myself, well, I have to go and, get some water at least. Right. So I would, get some water, because the cups were like about this size. I don't know, maybe like 8 ounces.
Yeah.
They're small ones. So I just, take sips of it throughout the day, and, lunchtime, go get more water. Dinner time, go get more water.
That's crazy.
So I did not drink from because I just couldn't. So I'm trying to use the bathroom, and, she tells me, see, one of them lets you use it. So I'm going, first of all, I'm thinking I need to get toilet paper. So I asked her, the inmate, where do I get toilet paper from? And she said, well, you ask one of the deputies, they'll give you some. So I asked the deputies, and she said, oh, yeah, sure, I'll give you some, but never does. So I ask again, still doesn't. And then I ask again, still doesn't. So I call my mom and my sister. And so I tell my sister, Gabby, they're not giving me toilet paper, and I really need to use the bathroom. At this point, it was probably close to 7 p.m. And mind you, I was holding it since
right,
like 1 o'clock.
So you're able to make phone calls?
Yes, I was able to make phone calls.
There's a phone in the room?
Yes, there's a phone in the room that at any time you can just go and make a phone call.
All right.
Yeah. So I call my sister, and my sister tells me, well, let me see what I can do from here. And to this day, I'm still not sure who she called. She called someone. And within minutes, there comes this deputy with a pallet of toilet paper. And
how do they get a pallet of toilet paper in there with all the people everywhere? I'm thinking of the space and 59 people in that room. How do they bring in a pallet of paper? Like everybody stands up and
Good question.
place
I
starts.
just always assumed it brought it in the fact that like,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
kind of like we all moved around, over people, walking over people, and
you just cleared a space.
yeah, kind of
That's
clear
just
the space for
crazy.
them.
Yeah, because if you stand up 18 square feet for everybody, you can squish to the
Right,
sides. But
yeah.
like,
I just want to know how well connected your sister is.
that's what you want to know.
She makes
Get
it
things
up.
done. We'll call
Palette.
Catherine's sister.
Yeah.
So, she just knows people.
Everywhere. She has people everywhere. Okay.
That's good.
So, but I don't know if the reason why they did that is because the person she called, or because they heard the conversation and they thought, well, this means
Right.
trouble. I don't know. I don't know if it's
Right.
her connections or them eavesdropping. So could be either or.
knows? Right.
Who knows? But yeah. Anyway, so the deputy comes over with toilet paper, and she starts telling everybody, well, this is toilet paper for the room. You are not to take your own.
Mhm.
How well did that work
No,
out?
That was totally,
no.
totally complied with, right?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. So finally, I have toilet paper. Now the next step is trying to find someone who's willing to let me use their bathroom. And of course, the answer that I'm getting is, no, you're going to stink up my room. You can use the restroom. Nobody let me use the restroom. So eventually I just, end up taking a nap, or trying to take a nap.
In your where?
In my under the bench.
In your spot under the bench.
In my little teeny
Desperately
tiny...
need to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Finally everybody took like a roll of paper and is coveting it. They're like hiding it in their jumpsuits or whatever.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
But this inmate, she was very nice to let me have some of hers.
Okay.
So, but
have some of her toilet paper.
That's for the room, but it's,
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I eventually, someone, I guess, saw how desperate I was, and they said, fine, you can use the restroom. And I did finally.
But what about all the other women who also have to use the bathroom?
You know what I learned to do after that time? Because you are not, if you don't want to go downstairs to get food, you don't have to. You're not required to. So what I learned to do was wait for them to leave, go really quickly, and then
go down.
And then go downstairs.
Okay. So there's a
That's
little
what
time.
you learned after
I learned,
a day.
yes, because they wouldn't let you use it at all. So
I this is the first time I've asked this one, and you don't have to answer if it feels uncomfortable. But I mean, the jumpsuit, does it like have flaps in the back? Do you have to undress in front of all these other women to use the toilet, or?
Yeah, you do. You have to undress in front of it.
That's
It doesn't have
crazy.
anything. Just like, regular
Because again,
jumpsuit.
when I first heard this story, I envisioned like a room with a door and a
No,
toilet.
Or
I
like a
wish it
stall
had-
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is no
This
privacy.
is just a
so-
toilet sitting there in
then
that
you
cell.
have
The door's open and you've
Yeah.
got 58 women.
looking at you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I hadn't considered that part of this before.
Yeah. No, it is crazy, and it's embarrassing. It's humiliating, but yeah, that's how it is. You have to, get butt naked in front of all these women.
Yeah.
So yeah. But after that happened, I was finally able to actually get some sleep. And at around 5 a.m, the next day on Sunday, I'm woken up to these women fighting because, again, the bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It was a
Oh, I
bathroom
didn't know the
fight.
it
fight
was a
was-
bathroom fight.
Okay.
Yeah. So so they take these women to the hole. That's what they called it, the hole.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going on. So this inmate tells me, hey, move over here. There's more room here than where you are. So I told her, well, no, because I don't want to, I don't want to take up somebody else's space.
I have more problems.
I have more problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and she tells me, no, they took her to the hole. She's not coming back. So I said, okay, well, what's the harm in it? So I did. I moved, and quickly I found out
Why that space was free.
why the space was free. Yeah. So, I mean, again, I'm trying to sleep a little bit because what else can I do? Um, when I feel this woman rubbing my my back.
Not just your back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine's really polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your backside.
My backside. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep it real polite.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's rubbing my backside. And so I kind of, try to like, readjust a little bit because, I'm thinking maybe
it's an accident.
Yeah, maybe it's an accident. We were pretty close to each
no
other.
Space
Right, there's
available,
no
right.
space.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, yeah. So then I feel it again with her foot. And now I'm like, okay, this is no accident. So I
Yeah.
kind of just, readjusted again, kind of looked at her. And then I kind of feel her like, playing with my hair. I have very long hair.
Mhm.
We could see.
Yeah. So she kind of feel her like playing with my hair. So then I look at her again and kind of give her a look.
Mhm.
But of course, I'm so intimidated by this woman, and she was not a small woman. Let's just put it that way.
Right. Yeah.
So, and again, I don't know who she is. So I kind of give her a look, and thank God she stopped. She
Right.
didn't continue doing that anymore. But but I was already so intimidated by her and so afraid of her, and she was next to me the entire time.
Did you tell a deputy about it?
I did not tell a deputy about it.
Why not?
Again, I was so afraid, and I didn't want to be taken to the hole for starting something because I figured if I say something, then they're going to most likely ask this woman about it, and then I'm going to be in trouble, and then I'm going to end up in the hole.
And even if they don't send you to the hole, maybe you're in trouble with this woman. It gets worse.
Right. And it gets worse. Yeah. The last thing I want is to start more trouble or get hurt. I I honestly feel like a child being in there.
Yeah. In what way?
I feel small. Very
Yeah.
small.
Just small and
Yeah.
And you just got to obey. And
Yeah.
if you get out of line, you can
Absolutely.
get in trouble.
I have to comply, and not just with the deputies, but with these women.
Mhm.
Again, I'm sure they're good people, some of them, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know them.
right.
So I am, I'm so, again, intimidated and lost. I had no idea what to do.
So I also want to point out like other aspects of the conditions while you're in the jail. So what is the temperature like?
Oh my
What is
God.
the environment like in that?
So hot. So,
Why?
so hot. No windows. No, nothing for ventilation. There was only one window, but it was in the direction of the inside of the building. And that's where we communicated with the deputy through that window, which is where I was, by the way, which is exactly where I stayed for the rest of the weekend. So anytime
After you came out from under the
Yeah,
table, you
but-
were under the window?
under the window, and like every time, because the phone was up there as well, like right
Yeah.
there. So every time anybody needed to use the phone or needed to talk to the deputy,
Come and wake you up.
yeah,
Interrupt
yeah,
you.
gotta
yeah,
move.
and
Yeah.
and they're not nice about it.
Like, move over.
Yeah, so so I have to but whatever. So
Another detail you mentioned was just kind of the smell, the
Yeah.
hygiene. Tell me about
very
that.
smelly. So it was really, really hot, and so there's a lot of women that I don't want to say they haven't showered, but most of them, I noticed that most of them didn't shower.
Well, I mean, I can imagine.
Well, there was one shower, right?
There was one shower.
Yeah, there's one
Yeah.
shower in that room.
There was one
for
shower
59 people.
for 59 people. What I did the last 2 days that I was there is it was like after that fight happened on Sunday, the woman touched me and everything, I went to the bathroom and just took a shower. And so what I did is I tried to wake up before everybody and go and shower.
Go
So,
shower before everybody gets
Yeah.
up.
I mean, but still, like if you factor in 15 minutes per person times 59 people, I mean, do
Mhm.
you even have time?
No.
And but the other side of that is, did they give you towels?
No.
So you don't dry off after
No,
you
you
shower
don't
either.
dry
You just
off,
get back
no.
into your
Yeah.
clothes and that's it.
And
Yep.
I'm trying to remember the shower. It's not super private, right? It's at the end of the
It's at the end of
And it has like a little
it has a
curtain or
curtain. It's at the end of the room, but it has a curtain. But that's all. But
is there a place to change
no, you just change in the
in the common area?
in the
You just
common
got to
area
change in the
or
common
in the
area
shower.
and hope your jumpsuit's there when you're done.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So, and you just, and I think one of the worst things is having to change to the same clothes, same underwear. So,
The shower's somewhat helpful, but then you're putting on the same dirty clothes.
Right.
And you're wet now. So now your clothes
So
are
now
wet.
it's even worse. So
Right.
you're kind of defeating the
purpose of
the shower. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. So it goes to figure that a lot of people aren't showering.
Right. So it did smell very badly. And again, being hot, it did not make it any better. Where you mentioned where the drinking water is, there was gunk everywhere. I mean, it was disgusting. And, I'm thinking this water's coming from the toilet. So.
Yeah. No, I think that anytime like somebody flushes the toilet, it affects the water pressure when I'm using it in a house. I'm like, gross. I know it's not connected, but like in the jail cell where you are, I can't see how it's not the exact same water. I mean, when I saw it, it's got to be the same water.
I don't know how it works, but something in me told me it's the same water. Don't drink that water. It's the same water.
You've always mentioned the gunk when you've told me about this event, right? Which is, it's awful. And I thought for sure when we went to take pictures in the jail that they would clean the toilet.
When we went during your case. And, right.
I thought for sure they'd like scrub them. I thought they'd be shiny, right? They opened the cell door and don't even bother to wash. And it's like filled with somebody's poop. And that's the nice word, I guess. And there is gunk on the sink. And I just couldn't believe that they hadn't bothered to clean when we're coming to take pictures for your lawsuit, which is crazy to me.
They just don't care. Well, they did while I was in there. Someone started cleaning, so we all did have to, get up and move our stuff so that she could.
What kind of cleaning did they do?
Not a very good one because it was kind of like
did they clean the toilets and sinks?
No,
or was it?
No, it was just kind of just sweeping.
A deputy or like a janitor?
An inmate.
So like the inmates tried to clean.
Yeah, the inmates.
Oh, it's just one inmate was like, let's sweep up this floor. It's kind of gross.
Yeah, it was her.
Did she have tools like cleaning? Did she have a broom?
She definitely had a broom. I don't know where she got it from, but she had a broom. And I remember she mopped as well. So she had a mop too. So, but that was it.
So they didn't have anybody come through and scrub down the toilets and sinks?
No. And I think even if the inmates wanted to, couldn't.
Yeah, like
because they don't have
where
you get this cleaning supplies for. So yeah. So that happens, the fight and everything, and the stuff with the woman. After that, I just I remember too that I told one of the deputies my head's hurting. Well, that was more toward night, but that day was, after the fight and after this woman
and all the crying
So
the headache sets in.
Yeah, the headache hits me, and I asked for something, some type of medicine or something, because I do get pretty bad headaches. And she told me that I had to wait until the next day. So I had no option to, just wait. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't. It's just all I could do was wait and cry.
Now, it's interesting. So as all of these things we did discovery on, right? We wanted to corroborate and verify all of this stuff. And, the jail does have a procedure for getting inmates medicine. What's interesting is when we were doing discovery, we learned that prior to your stay in jail, they actually had cut funding for some medical services things. And so, there are elements, of course, that we didn't quite prove down to the T, right? But that was one of those things where you have to ask, is the cut in funding responsible for the fact that you didn't get the right medical treatment that you needed?
And if you're going to cut funding, why from medicine?
Well, and it's interesting to see how, like, those who administer a jail, how they toot their own horn. We saved money on this, but you think about what that goes to, and
Mm-hmm.
in terms of care of people. It's the same thing with the hot of the heat of the jail that you were talking about. Like, we have news articles and other evidence that the AC at the jail had stopped functioning
Mm-hmm.
for summer months, and we even have the sheriff in a news article saying, "Oh yeah, it's hottest where the women are housed," right? And so, we got corroboration for all of these things you're talking about. Uh, you know,
And
so
talking
I just
about the overcrowding.
right
They were very aware of the
they were
overcrowding.
aware of the overcrowding.
Well, and when we deposed him, he and asked him why do you think the population was going up in your jail when it was going down in surrounding counties?
Mm-hmm.
And he attributed that in part to his like drug treatment program and encouraging judges to give longer sentences to people in Henrico jail, because he thought if they're in there longer, then our drug rehab program is going to be more successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had implemented policies that he attributed to overcrowding in the jail, right? And they were well aware.
And that he was patting himself on the back for, like,
So he was
really
proud of
believed
it.
he was proud of
Mhm.
these policies that led to your detention in these rough conditions.
Yeah, and it's seriously, it's inhumane, but I think that one of the worst things was too that one of the women that at least that I noticed was visibly pregnant. So, and that was actually the one that shared the toilet paper with me.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
she, it's not okay for anybody, but for a woman that's probably 5, 6 months pregnant, it's even worse. I mean, I can only
Yeah.
imagine. And she was on the floor like just like I was.
Mhm.
So she didn't have anything. She was just,
Right.
next to me.
Right.
So after that,
The incident
Monday,
with the hole and the sexual
right?
harassment, the medicine, and then what happened?
Yeah. Then Monday comes around, and it's time for my sister comes to see me.
Okay.
So she comes to see me, and she's like, because one of the things that I told him when I talked to them on the phone was, first thing in the morning, please, 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 please call my job and let them know what's going on.
Yeah.
And because of course, I don't want them to think, oh, she's a no show. And I've never done that. I mean, just calling out when I'm sick, I feel guilty.
Mhm.
Right.
But to just show up, I mean, not show up,
But
and
not show
not
up.
call
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. So, they did that. And, thank God, again, these people that I worked with at the time are so amazing. And yeah, of course, I didn't show up because on Mondays we had to show up at 8. And I didn't show up, and so they're all worried. And when I finally charged my phone, I noticed like 12 missed calls from my boss, them thinking that something had
Something had
happened to
happened.
me. And yeah, so but my sister goes to the bank, and she tells my boss what's going on, and she's ready to go. And she
Your
grabs her,
boss,
yeah.
like,
She
I'm
wanted to
heading
come
down
see you in
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
jail.
yeah. She wanted to come see me in jail. She
Mm.
grabbed her purse, and she was like, "Where is she? Let's go. Let's get her. Let's get her out."
Get her out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, she's amazing. And my sister was like, "Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. We have to wait. She has court this morning, so." But I was just coming here to let you know. Which my boss was. She's emailed HR really quickly, and she was like, "We need to do something. We need to hire an attorney for her. We need to get her out." So she started all that.
Yeah.
But my sister was like, "Well, my mom had already called Jacob like 50 million times." So
Yeah.
You're
So
like, we've called an attorney.
I'll step back on that. It was Saturday. I was driving with my family to the beach, and we were having trouble finding a parking spot. My phone is on the dash that I'm using for GPS.
he's already
Like, it's
frustrated.
the worst time for
And
like
it's
me to get
blowing up.
5 phone calls back to back. I'm like, I'll call you back. I'll call you back. But anyway, so I was a little miffed when I took
Yeah.
the phone. I still don't know how they got my cell phone number, but
I don't know.
it's totally fine.
Your sister got it.
It had to be.
She's
your
like,
sister.
But
a
you know
pallet of
what?
toilet paper, and I have everybody's personal cell.
I think that they have your phone number from like a long time ago when you started their
Oh,
case.
yeah.
And
So
I
when I
think
first started my firm, it
right,
was
when
just
you
me.
first started
Yeah.
your firm, I think that's when That's when they got it. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think I have it too.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
probably do. It's fine. It's
I have it.
fine.
I just,
You have it.
Can you have it scroll
Should
across
we
the
just my
it scroll
personal
across
cell
the
phone? Yeah, let's do
So-
that.
If you'd like to call
but
Jacob Tingen's
I
personal
would
cell.
never call you on your personal number.
You are fine.
So,
Because once I heard about what was going on, I instantly knew what had happened because we had filed a prior lawsuit about the same issue with the same jail. So I knew what was going on, and knowing that it was the weekend, there just wasn't a whole lot to do until Monday.
yeah, right. But, of course, my mom being who she is,
Yeah.
she's relentless.
Mhm.
Being who she is and, being a mom, she wanted answers.
Yeah.
So my sister told my boss, you know what, we already have someone, but she was like, no, it doesn't matter. Like I'll try. We'll try to do something. It never hurts. So then eventually my sister comes to the jail and she's like, okay, so I already talked to your boss and she said it's fine. Whatever you need, just they're on your side. So that made me feel at the time good.
Mhm.
And it still does, it shows that they care at
Right.
least. So, so she tells me, okay, so we're going to go to the courtroom because, they don't let you, visits are not very long. So they had me waiting. They took me, it was within the same building because I did not leave the building at all the entire time. Like I did not see the sunlight.
Now, before you get to the next part, which is, I know you're talking, you actually went to court, through a video channel in the jail at 11.
Yes.
Now, one of the things we later just learned in discovery is that they lifted your detainer an hour before. They just didn't release you.
Yeah. And not only that, but when I finally got to see the judge, again through a TV on video, he told me that he didn't even mention about the ICE detainer had been lifted, but he instead told me that I had to wait an extra, I believe he said 48 hours or 72 hours, something like that, so that they could move me to Farmville.
Which would an ICE detention center?
Yes, an ICE detention center. So again, I am crushed because I'm thinking
I'm never getting out of here.
I'm never getting out. Like this is I'm just gonna be deported because I'm not going to they're not gonna let me out. They've already said so. So
and at this point they'd still never given you any
Nothing.
paperwork.
Paperwork.
Nobody has sat down and said, okay, Katherine, the reason you're in jail, even though you got a PR bond and were told by a judge, you're free to go, is because you have an ICE detainer,
Nope.
which means that ICE wants us to hold on to you for an extra 48 hours and they may come and pick you up. Nobody ever explained any of that to you.
Absolutely no one.
You never got a sheet of paper that said it either.
Absolutely nobody said anything to me. I did not know what an ICE detainer was. The first time I heard, not ICE detainer, but ICE hold, was from the judge.
And that judge that morning.
That judge that morning, on Monday morning.
It sounds like the judge was misinformed, didn't know that the ICE detainer had
been lifted.
Right, had been lifted, and that the 48 hours had already passed. Right?
So that's, that's what he tells me. You have to wait because we're going to move you to the immigration center in Farmville. So then again, I start crying.
So
because now I'm thinking for sure I'm going to be deported. That's it. That's the end of it. He already told me that the immigration, there is an ICE hold. That's what he said. There's an ICE hold. So I'm like, that's it. It's over. It's over for me. My job is over. My life is over.
So we started this. We started this off even before you started about your, talking about your experience in the jail was your experience as an immigrant, which is I have to live to a higher standard.
Yes.
Don't do anything wrong, right? Don't go over the speed limit. And so did any of that thinking, like, is that going through your mind at this point? Like, don't scratch your brother on accident.
Right.
Add that to the list.
Don't try to get him not to,
not to drive drunk.
Right.
Don't prevent a DUI.
Yeah.
So you
Or
told me
something
once,
even worse.
I never talked to your, did you had an attorney there with you at that hearing? Was there an attorney representing
No,
you?
you didn't at
Mm,
the arraignment, but we helped connect you to a defense attorney, correct?
yes.
Okay.
But I mean, in the room where I was, it was just me and a
Just you.
deputy.
Yeah.
So
Was it Jennifer that helped you with your criminal case?
she did.
Jennifer
Yeah,
Quesada? So
Jennifer Quesada.
gonna
Yeah.
give a shout out to Jennifer.
Oh, she's amazing. Yeah,
excellent. Yeah,
she
yeah.
is
She's fantastic.
wonderful.
Okay,
Very
so
good.
you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've got this story floating around in my head that that the defense attorney said the judge ultimately said to the officers, "Hey, I get, that's technically a battery, right? To scratch him to prevent a DUI, but so is pushing somebody out of the way of a moving car, right? That could be technically a battery."
And the judge, when Miss Quesada represented me with the day of the court, she did say that she would have done the same thing as I did if she was in my position.
Right.
So
You did a good thing. Like, I want to hit that home is you did a good thing.
Yeah. So I did the right thing. Yeah.
Right. And then you got punished for it.
Right.
Yeah.
To be clear, so you arrive at your trial with your defense attorney and all charges are dismissed. Like,
yes.
there's a trial. For whatever reason, the prosecutor still wants to prosecute you on this case. And when the judge hears it all, she's kind of angry about it,
yeah,
right?
she was. She was. And you know what's crazy? The arresting officer was there and he did not look at me once while we were there.
Yeah. Had some attitude shade your way.
I don't know if it was an attitude or what it was, but he did not look at me once. So I don't know what it was. Maybe it was something against me or God knows.
So that's something I want to clarify, though, for anybody who's listening. Is like, you don't have any criminal history.
No, I don't.
You were arrested, but you really hadn't committed any crime.
Right.
And ultimately, you were found not guilty to the point where the judge was kind of angry with the prosecutor and the police saying, why?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And that is, frankly, one of the issues that I took with everything that happened to you is there was no reason that this happened to you.
Yeah.
At all. Doesn't make sense to me. But I want people to understand that is like, because we live in an imperfect world, our justice system does not get everything right all of the time.
Unfortunately.
And so that's something we need to put out there and say, hey, look, like we need to listen to people who say, this is hurting me and it shouldn't in this way. And so I think it's important that you're doing this.
Yeah, I think so too. And another thing that I wanted to mention is that when on the day of my arraignment is
your arraignment is your hearing in the jail.
Yeah. So the day of my arraignment with the video, my brother did tell the judge that he was ready to testify and let him know what was going on. And the judge said, you're going to do that on a different day. He gave us a date and you're going to have to pay a $500 fee to testify.
What? Seems odd.
Yeah. So when I got to talking to Attorney Quesada, I told her about this and does he have to pay? Because my brother testified in court, and she said, "No, I never heard of something like this."
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what he said. And then of course, when I got out, I asked my mom and my sister and my brother because they were all there. Did I hear that right? Is that correct? And they were like, "Yeah, that is what he said."
A little odd.
So yeah, but
So after the arraignment, what happened? How was the rest of the time in jail? What happened?
So after the arraignment, they took me back to the
day room 332.
To the day room.
You know the
is it 332 or 30?
I think it's 322.
322.
Yeah,
anyway,
I remember
the
it being like a
322. 1,000 square feet, 59 women.
That's the thumbnail. Day room 3.
And so they take me to again to the day room, and they kind of just stay me there. So the phones
you're waiting to be taken to farm.
I'm waiting.
You think they're going to take me off to ICE detention center?
At this point, I'm thinking I do think he said 48 hours, the judge, because I do remember thinking they're going to move me on Wednesday.
Right.
So I recall thinking, well, now that's it. It's over for me. So I start
They're going to put
again
me in an
crying.
immigration detention center. Then I'm going to
Right.
get deported, and
Yeah.
that's how this works.
Yeah. And that's how it works. I'm like visioning myself in an airplane landing in El Salvador.
Mhm.
No, I want to point out something that the average listener may not recognize, right? Which is your family, much of them have come to the U.S. fleeing from your home
Yeah.
country
Yeah.
for the purpose of applying for asylum
Mm-hmm.
because they fear for their lives.
Yeah.
And you're part of the same family. So what impact does this have on your thought process?
So, oh my God. So I'm thinking it's so dangerous. I don't know. They're gonna be able to tell that I'm coming from the US. I'm gonna be killed. Because
And why? Why is that? For
that's
somebody who knows nothing about El Salvador, why would you think that? And why is that a reasonable, believable thought in your circumstance?
because I know what my family's been through. And I have to say, personally, I haven't been through half of what at least my brother and sister have,
Yeah.
because they did come at a later time than I did from El Salvador. So when they were there, it was much more dangerous than when I was there.
And there were death threats with
There
that.
were death threats. There were
Mhm.
kidnapping threats. So, and also, we had
And family members
I
who
was
are
gonna say,
actually okay. Go ahead.
I don't know if I can
You
say this,
go ahead.
but yeah, I have family members that are wanted by the gangs, and they freely go and open your door and take you. And the next time you're seen is in a plastic bag.
Right. And one of those family members is wanted by gangs because of a DUI incident.
Because of a DUI incident.
And
yes.
you knew about that at the
Yeah,
time when you
yeah.
were trying to prevent your brother from driving.
From potentially going through the same thing or doing, the same,
Right.
making the same mistake.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that uncle, he love him, but
Mhm.
but a lot of problems came because of that DUI incident, and unfortunately, there were lives taken
Mhm.
from that accident. So unfortunately, it was family members of gang members.
Right.
So, and when something like that happens, they don't only have it out for the person that did it, but for their entire family.
Yeah. So it's known that the gangs in El Salvador
Yeah.
want Rivas Lemos.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody in your family is a target.
Yeah. Everybody in our family has a target in their back.
Mhm.
So, and, especially them knowing that I'm coming from the United States, they're probably thinking, even though it's not true, they're probably thinking, oh, she has money, or, she has
Yeah.
something. So they might, God knows what they could do to someone.
Now, the other side to the immigration story that I want to point out here is that the uncertainty that immigrants live in, which is, for example, your brother and sister's cases, asylum cases, came to me 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still waiting for a result in
Yeah.
our immigration court process, in the asylum office, those kinds of things. And so a lot of people don't realize that the uncertainty that immigrants live with, because like we mentioned with the U visa, it's going to take 7-ish years to get an answer on that. And it's the same with so many other kinds of immigration
Yeah.
applications. And that's something that we need to fix.
Yeah, it is. And it's a lot of not only the uncertainty, but the stress of everything.
Right.
So there's a lot of anticipation, stress, and I see my sister, for instance, she does very well for herself. She works at this company. It's a stone and marble company.
Yeah.
And she's a manager there. She's an HR manager there. So she does well for herself. She has her home. She's married. She has my nephew, who's 8 years old. And I see her worry about this.
Yeah.
And we worry for her. So because, an 8-year-old, and she's doing so well for herself, and then things not turning the way that you want them to, it was just, ruin
Well,
everything,
and then
crush her.
also just think about the impact really on the US economy, because we've got this person, a mother with an 8-year-old kid who's doing well in her job. And what if a judge doesn't grant her asylum
Hmm.
ultimately? This is a disaster waiting to happen around the country. And so our immigration processes really do need to be fixed for that reason alone.
I
But
agree.
sorry, not to tangent away from
Yeah, that's
from your
well,
thing.
when you're talking about uncertainty, just the uncertainty you lived under, right? Where
Right.
one incident and you're suddenly,
One incident.
when you were growing up and you go to middle school and high school here, were you always thinking one day I could suddenly be deported?
Oh yeah. Well, as a child, you don't really worry about those things. You know that you're held up to certain standards,
Mhm.
but it's not something that's in your mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something that you truly worry about until you're older. So this is when I noticed that being an immigrant was so, um how can I put it, uh difficult. Let's put it that way. So difficult. When I tried to get a grown-up job,
Uh-huh.
that's when I'm like, huh, well, look at that.
What was that when you applied at Wells Fargo?
Well, when I applied at Wells Fargo, I already had
You had a grown-up
DACA.
job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had DACA because I started working at Wells Fargo when I was 18. But before then, I thought I wanted more. I didn't want to work at a restaurant for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be, a dishwasher. I didn't want to be a server. I didn't want to clean houses. And I'm not demeaning those jobs by any means. I'm super proud of people that do those jobs. Somebody has to do them, and I'm very proud. But I wanted more. That's
Right.
not what I wanted for myself. I wanted more. And getting into college and then, them telling you, well, you can't get in-state tuition because, yeah, true, you have a social and
You
you have
graduated from a
DACA.
high school here in
You
Virginia.
right, but you still have to pay out-of-state tuition because you're not a U.S. resident, at
Mhm.
least.
Yeah.
So that was soul crushing as well. I mean, I remember
And even with that, you did some college, right?
I did. I didn't finish because it was so darn expensive.
Right.
But I I remember the last time I tried, because I did try various times.
Yeah.
And I remember this is like one of my core memories. I remember just I couldn't hold my tears in front of the counselor. And I just, and she was like, well, she didn't care. She just said, well, I'm sorry, it is what it is. So I remember,
Yeah.
going to my car and just, losing it completely and
Because you couldn't keep going to college.
right, because I could not afford it anymore. So I remember getting home and crying and went in my room, and my mom is telling me, ¿qué te pasa? ¿Qué te pasa? Like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And then I told her, and, I remember her crying with me,
Yeah.
because I mean, for me, it was one of the most soul crushing things that I've ever experienced. But because again, I wanted more, I envisioned more for myself. So, but later I went in, thanks to my cousin who has been in banking pretty much her entire life. She's a bit older than me.
Mhm.
And she told me, hey, you can go to school, but you can't do this. And
Mhm.
so, she kind of, told me, again, her being a little bit older than me, she was like, let's apply. And she kind of held my hand throughout the entire process. And
To help
she
you get
gave,
that banking
right.
job.
She talked me up and, gave me some guidance. And, thank God, like first interview, first application and everything, and I got the job. So, so
Congrats.
thank you.
Yeah, it's good.
So, and I was so proud of myself because, even though it was a bank teller job, I'm like, me, working for a bank, kind of feel good. So, and then, later you figure out that even though sometimes you can do the things that you want to do, there are other opportunities out there. So
That's good. I mean, and it's good that you're developing that resilience, right?
yeah. So you have to.
That's an important part of the
You
immigrant
have to.
story.
Yeah, you have to, because otherwise you just going to be depressed and not do anything the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So, that was, and I will again forever be thankful to my cousin for holding my hand throughout the entire process. So she's been there for me a lot. So
Thanks for sharing. So let's come back to the afternoon after the arraignment. So you're still in the jail and your mind turns to everything I've built. So
Yeah.
I've built this life.
like I have a
I'm a
home.
bank manager.
You're right.
You have a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
You're a homeowner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
You've like really achieved success.
yeah. I mean, I bought my home when I was 21.
That's really
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, I was 21.
deal.
I was 21. I was so proud because I'm
So you're
21.
living the American dream.
I'm living the American dream. I'm 21 years old. I am an assistant manager at a bank. I have my house. I have my car. Not the best one out there, but I have a car.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So
a dog.
I'm thinking, and a dog.
2 dogs.
I did not have
One
them at
dog.
the time.
Just one
One
dog
dog.
at this time. Okay. All right.
So, and so I'm thinking, darn, for someone that didn't even get the opportunity to graduate from college, I'm not doing
You're
too
killing
bad.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not doing too badly. So, and but I still, always want more. But anyway, I think I digress.
Well, we were
So-
talking in the jail. You're thinking, I'm going to lose it all.
Right. I'm gonna lose it all. So start crying again, and like to this point, the other inmates are noticing
That you're breaking down.
that I'm breaking down. That I'm
Were
in the-
there any other immigrant inmates in the jail at the same time as you, do you think? Or
I don't think so.
okay.
I don't think so. I remember there being this other Latina lady, but I don't think she was an immigrant,
Okay.
or she may have been. I'm
Mhm.
not sure. But yeah, I mean, at this point, other inmates are starting to notice that I'm, devastated. And so they're like,
Mm.
What's going on with this girl? Like, I remember this inmate was like, because, again, the nails and my hair was done at the time too.
Mhm.
So I remember this girl being like, why are you even here? Like, what did you do,
You don't
princess?
seem to fit in.
Right.
What did you
It was
do,
obvious.
princess?
That's what she said. What did you do, princess? I mean, it was all,
Did you
Little
break a
princess
nail?
girl.
I did not break a nail.
That's amazing that you went
Yeah.
a weekend without breaking
Yeah.
a nail.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So yeah. So I mean, it was obvious that I didn't fit in.
Mhm.
So yeah, again, they're telling me, like, I remember this inmate giving me a book, and she's like, you know what? Here's this book. At least keep yourself entertained. I didn't see any more books. So I don't know where she got the book from, but that's not the point. But yeah, she's like, keep yourself entertained. It'll be fine. And, just pray, and,
Mhm.
God's by your side, and,
Yeah.
and I'll be praying for you, and things are going to be okay. So, that made me feel a little better, but at the same time, it's just, that's not what you want. It makes
Right.
you feel better because, always talking about how things are going to be better and God is by your side. Kind of, to me at least, it brings me some kind of comfort.
Mhm.
So, she, she did that for me, which I was happy about. So then, I'm sitting down, I'm reading this book while I'm crying, of course. And when I get someone calls my name, one of the deputies calls my name, and they're like, Rivas, BRB. And I'm like, what is that?
BRB.
Something like
Be
that.
right back.
Be right back. That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I thought too. So I think she
Uh-huh.
said BRB. I think that's what she said.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, what is, or BMB, something like, I can't remember.
Mhm.
And I'm like, did she say Rivas? Like, and I'm like trying to like find where she's calling me from. And so I don't know what that means. And she calls my name again, and I don't know where she. So I turned to one of the inmates, who, by the way, this is just a side story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She noticed that I never ate my food. So she told me, always get your food. I'm always gonna eat your food.
Get you food for me.
Yeah, she was like, get your food, and I'm gonna eat it.
That's how my kids are.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, she
Don't
liked the
waste
chicken.
anything.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so so I always gave her my food, at least for the last day and a half that I was there. I gave her my food, but I asked her, what does that mean? And she said, it means you're going home. I was like, what? She said, yeah, it means you're going home. And of course I didn't expect that, because now at this point I'm expecting
To go to farm.
to go to Farmville.
Everything's getting worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, what? So I finally see or get to the window, and I see the deputy, and I'm like, what does that mean? And she's like, get your stuff and let's go.
hmm
So, I mean, didn't have to tell me twice.
hmm
So,
You're out of there.
yeah, I
So,
was out of there.
so what had happened on the outside is, after your arraignment, I think when your mom called on Saturday, I think like my earliest appointment was 1:00 in the afternoon on Monday. So they came in and talked to me and mentioned what had happened at the arraignment. And I asked them, go to my waiting room. And I called the jail and spoke to someone about your detainer. And there was a bit of a kind of moment.
I bet there was.
Well, because I had mentioned, we've already sued you guys over this once, and it was, pretty sure it's unconstitutional, right? And we'll get into that in a separate video about the
Right.
whole qualified immunity and all that stuff. But anyway, there was a moment of like, oh no, like what have we done, kind of thing. Even though we know, from discovery that the jail frequently honored ICE detainer requests. And although Henrico County no longer honors those requests as a result of your lawsuit, which is great news.
It's great news.
Mm.
Yeah. Thankful for that.
But yeah, I mean, so I called, and it was Miss Turner in my notes, who we later deposed. But yeah, she was like, oh, that's been lifted, and we'll release her right away.
But it had been lifted hours before.
It had been lifted hours,
And they
before
kept
my phone
you.
call.
Yeah. So we know now they kept you for 5 hours after ICE said, lift this.
Let her go. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, they and then after that, they took me again downstairs to like the waiting area where they have pretty much everybody. So they take me downstairs and they tell me to change, which I did, and then after that, they had me waiting for a very long time again. So I didn't get out of there until, probably 4,
Yeah.
3:15 p.m.
3:15.
That
But it may
Go ahead.
not have been till 4 till you walked out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
they officially have you booked out at 3:16.
yeah.
3:16.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna be really
Oh,
precise. Yeah.
3:16.
I remember all the times for some reason. I have a penchant for like memorizing statutes down to the number
Oh,
and
really?
stuff. Yeah, it's so I know it's 3:16.
3:16 p.m.
3:16
Yeah.
p.m. So 3:16 p.m. Yeah. So that's when.
That's when they have you booked out.
That's when they
Yeah.
signed something at a minimum.
Yeah.
Maybe you
yeah.
didn't
But
actually walk
after
out
that,
till 4,
it took a while, because I remember that I was and I was bare feet too. So I don't know if you guys knew that.
The
but I
whole
did.
time?
No, they did give me flip flops while I
Mhm.
was in there.
but when they booked you in and
But
brought
when
you
they
in, you were
booked me,
barefoot.
right, when they arrested me and everything, I was bare feet.
Yeah, you were in your house. You
Yeah,
had your
right. I
shoes
was
on.
in my house. Yeah. So I didn't have any shoes on. So I'm waiting there, and I'm like, my tippy toes, because I don't. So
Your mom and sister bring you shoes, or did they not think of it?
I don't think they thought of it, because they
Okay.
didn't bring me shoes.
Mhm.
But yeah, even they were waiting for me outside, and oh my God, it felt great. It felt like I had been in there for years.
54 hours, right?
Under the detainer.
Under the detainer. 54 hours solely under the detainer. That was never served on you.
And more than
Hmm.
that, if you count the time that she was in the drunk tank.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So, but that's my story.
So I want to talk a little bit about, if you don't mind sharing, again, anything you don't feel comfortable sharing, you don't have to. How has this impacted you? Like how did you deal with this? Because I can't imagine what is essentially a weekend in hell.
A lot more insecurities came from it. And there was a time, and, still to this day, but I'm the type of person to, I smile at everything. Right.
Yeah.
So I there've been days that I feel so depressed. There've been days that taking a shower has been a struggle for me. And when
Why?
I it's just so many things in the back of my mind,
Yeah.
like why did this happen? Why am I going through this? Um, will it happen again? That's
Yeah.
also another thing. Will it happen again? Will it happen to one of my family members? I don't could it happen worse? Or, it's hard to explain, but it's so many things in the back of your mind that I think that if you haven't gone through it, you wouldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Especially, being in the position that I am, like I've said it since before, I have, I feel like I have to walk on eggshells,
Yeah.
right? I
And
have
that
to be
feeling hasn't
perfect.
gone away.
That hasn't gone away at all. If
Well, it
anything,
preceded this.
right. If anything, it got worse
Yeah.
because now I know how little it takes,
How quickly it can flip.
how quickly it can flip. Yeah.
Mhm.
So how fast everything can change. And, working so hard because I've seen my parents work so hard for everything they have and for us, right? For all
Mhm.
four of us. And we all of us have followed their footsteps and have worked so hard. And, like I said, I was so proud of myself. Even though I don't have a college degree, I managed to, you know, manage a bank.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I managed to get a house. And, I have near perfect credit, which is, something that I'm also very proud of.
Mhm.
And so I'm thinking, I'm doing all the things right in my book. And I think in pretty much everybody's book,
Yeah.
I'm doing things right. Why am I going through this? Why am I deserving of this? Will it happen again? What is going to happen next time if it does happen?
Mhm.
You know?
So one of the things that we put together a mock jury as we prepared your case and that kind of thing. So and like we mentioned, the defense attorney said she's too likable, right?
Yeah.
And so I, I think anybody listening to this recognizes, well, there's going to be some kind of trauma or something's going to stick, right? Like
Yeah.
this is how are you capable of presenting as well as you are, right? Because you present really well, and yet, based on what you just said, you're still dealing with some of these issues. So
Yeah.
so talk through that a little.
Uh, I think that it's not only a personality thing, because I do think that I kind of had that upbeat personality
Yeah,
to begin with. Uh, but as Hispanic, as a culture thing, we don't really talk about these kinds of things.
yeah,
It's like whatever's going on in the back of your mind is going on in the back of your mind, but what's on your face is something else.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
you know. So, and again, I think it's a culture thing, but also it's just the way that I am. I even though I feel the way I feel, I don't want to be a burden on you or anybody else. I don't want to show up to work and let my boss know, oh, she's having a crappy day because she can get over what happened 4 years ago. Because some people might think that.
right.
You know, not everybody is as sensitive as we want them to be.
Mm.
Well, you're
So
not a
Get over
burden,
it.
Catherine.
Right.
I
You
want you to
have
know
not been a burden.
you are not a burden. Are there any symptoms that you want to share or willing to share? Or we can skip over that.
yeah. Well, when I was in the jail, I developed vertigo, which I later did see a doctor about that, and
Yeah.
she did tell me that a lot of stress and also being on the ground
Yeah.
caused that. Which to this day, I'm still dealing with that. I mean, when I tell you to this day, this morning
Mhm.
still.
Wow. Yeah.
So that happened. And then for a while, I swear to God that I thought I saw the officer that arrested me.
Right.
Not once, not twice, but a few times. And honestly, I can't say, oh, that was him or it wasn't him, because in my mind, it was
It
him.
was him.
Right.
Yeah, I saw him.
And
So,
so you continue to deal with kind of stress, trauma.
yeah, the pressure again of, will this happen again? Like how quickly, now I know how quickly things turn.
Bad things can happen.
Yeah.
So I know that you came to my office and visited with me, and I mentioned that we've done lawsuits on this issue in the past, civil suits against the jail. Why did you decide, hey, this is worth it, we should pursue a lawsuit?
First of all, because if it's happening to other people, especially people that are in my position that really haven't done anything to deserve it, I want it to be out there. I wanted to show other people that, again, in my position that haven't spoken up, that you can, and it's okay to do so. It does take strength. It takes time, and it takes, wonderful people such as you guys
Thanks.
that do such a great job. So, but it is possible. And again, in my community, it's very rare that people will speak up. And so that's one of the main things.
I want to talk about that because we talked about this already when it comes to like the U visas and reporting crime. I know that many of my clients would have a very hard time doing what you're doing. And in fact, the last case we did, that client settled pretty early on because I have to tell you, you are a very cool customer in those settlement negotiations. No, I mean, like you've got an iron will, like you really do.
You went through, and just to give some background, I mean, so you participated during the lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
You participated in 3 settlement conferences.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And you were deposed. And you saw an expert witness hired on our side, and then you spent hours at an office of another expert witness for the other side.
Yeah.
Right. So you did quite a lot during that suit. And in a settlement, if somebody hasn't, now you've been through 3, right?
Yeah.
more than some attorneys. So you know what it's like, and there's intense pressure.
It
right?
is.
They come in, and in this case, it was a magistrate judge, and he did a great job. But part of his job is to tell you, you really should settle. You really should settle, and tell you what's wrong with your case. So tell us about that experience of that first settlement conference.
So it was a little scary and again intimidating. I feel like I'm using that word a lot, but I just I do get somewhat intimidated by authority figures. And so I mean, I had no idea what to expect, what to do. But again, having you guys guide me throughout the whole thing did help a lot. So I think I don't deserve all the credit. I think you guys deserve half of the credit.
Yeah.
We'll take half.
We'll take half.
Or most of the credit, I should say, because, like again, not knowing what to expect or anything, I kind of just relied on you guys. So it was, again, wonderful having you guys by my side. And I mean, it was nothing like I've ever lived before.
So we're going to do a legal breakdown in a separate video where we're going to kind of go behind the scenes on the legal side. But I wanted to get your perspective. Like, now that you've lived it, are you glad you did? And
I am.
Okay.
And you mean glad you lived the lawsuit?
Glad you lived the lawsuit.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. For 2 things. The first one being is that at least we were able to accomplish some policy changes.
No, go ahead. Talk about it.
Yeah. So we were able to accomplish a policy change that Sheriff Gregory signed, and I'll let you guys talk about it because you know how
the new sheriff, right?
The new Sheriff Gregory, yes.
Right.
So she's my opinion, for what I've seen, she's a great woman, and she's very dedicated to her job and doing it right. So I am very thankful for that. I'm glad that we got that done. And the other reason is, again, to let everybody know that it's okay to speak up. It's okay to say something. It's okay to sometimes confront the bigger guy, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so those I'm glad I did.
Good.
I don't regret it one bit.
So yeah, so the big change we got, the policy with Sheriff Gregory, is that they changed the policy in Henrico. I think we already mentioned this in the video, but the policy is now changed in Henrico that they don't honor ICE detainers,
Mm-hmm.
and we're thrilled with that result. And then we also got a confidential settlement for you that that will, we're not going to talk further about that, but are you happy with that result as well?
I am very happy with all the results. I'm happy with my representation.
Yeah.
You guys, I cannot stress it enough. You guys have been amazing. And again, I said you guys deserve half of the credit, but I'm lying. You guys deserve most of the credit. I mean, because all I've done really is, show up
And tell your story.
and tell my story. Yeah, show up and tell my story.
But it
and
takes a lot of courage, Katherine. You should be really, really proud of yourself and what you
Yeah,
did.
you handled yourself the way you handled yourself with the magistrate judge, right? Going into the courthouse for those 2 settlement conferences that were at the courthouse. You held your own. You had, and also you didn't buckle under the pressure of those first 2 settlement conferences.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It could have been easy to be like, okay, let's bail on this.
Let's
Yeah.
just settle. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just settle. But it just
and I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about it.
right.
But something that again I've learned from my mom,
Mhm.
that woman is relentless.
Yeah. And so it's good to be relentless.
Yes, it's good. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of the things that I've learned about her. She's very courageous. So, and I think that again influenced a lot on my decision, and I think that's part of the reason why we're here.
So what words would you have for an immigrant and maybe in your position or a similar position here in Virginia? What should they do?
I think that they should, in a similar position, you mean as an immigrant, or if it happened to...
As an immigrant, or if this kind of thing happened to them? Yeah.
So I would say, again, first of all, make sure you're doing good things. Be good.
Be good. Behave. That's
Okay.
Yeah,
Be good.
Be good. That's the main thing. Behave. Be good. Don't give a reason to, or to let this happen. So that's the main thing.
Don't get your nails done.
Don't get your nails done.
I'm kidding. That's a joke.
See, I learned my lesson.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing, be good. But also don't stop doing the right thing as far as again, speaking up. Just
stand up for yourself.
Stand up for yourself. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. And sometimes you feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, why am I even doing this? Why did I get into this? But you just have to make sure that you work towards the results that you want. Don't drop everything midway, just do the right thing. Be courageous, and that's it.
Well, and by standing up for yourself, you ultimately stood up for a lot of other people.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And did you see that coming? Like when you started that, did you think, oh, they'll actually change their policy?
Never crossed my mind. Never. When this happened, I didn't even think about, this could be a lawsuit until after.
Yeah, until we spoke.
Right, until we spoke, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't leave the jail thinking, I can't wait to sue these people.
No,
that's
not at all.
Who you are either.
It did not cross my mind once while I was in there. So honestly, being here today and talking about this, to me, is a huge win.
Yeah. No, I am proud to hear you say that.
Yeah, it's a huge win. And again, I am proud of myself, but I am so proud of you guys, and I'm proud of my mom, my sister, everybody, my family, and I'm very thankful again. Even though I don't work at SunTrust anymore, everybody was so amazing, and I'm so thankful to everybody, and it honestly, it made me feel loved.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So even though it was a tough situation, it kind of clarifies things for you, because like what I don't know if it'll make sense, but in Spanish there's a saying that vas a saber quiénes son tus verdaderos amigos cuando estés en una mala situación. So you'll know who your friends are when you're in a bad situation.
Yeah.
So, and that was it for me, you know. So
if you had any words to share, part of the point of this program, this podcast, this YouTube channel is to, I'm going to say the word educate, but I'm looking for a different word, is inform people about who may not know an immigrant, who may not know the challenges that immigrants face. So what would you say to, say, someone who's a U.S. citizen who's just kind of lived here all their life, doesn't know many immigrants, or doesn't understand the trials that immigrants face? What words might you have kind of in the context of what we talked about for those people?
I would say give us a chance and don't look at us as an immigrant. Just look at me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm your neighbor. I happen to be Hispanic. I'm your neighbor. I happen to be on DACA. I happen to not be a U.S. citizen, but I'm me. I'm your neighbor. I'm your customer. I'm the person next to you. It doesn't change anything. The only thing that's different between us is where you were born.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're the same. We probably feel the same about most things.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, we're just people. We're not here to offend anybody. We're not here to take your jobs. We're not here to make you feel bad about yourself. And we're definitely not here to commit crimes. So, if we're here, it's because we're hardworking. Otherwise, we wouldn't have left the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right?
it takes a lot of work just to get here.
It takes a lot of work. And a lot of people don't know, but it's so hard for immigrants to get a job where they treat you well, where they treat you like you're supposed to. Most immigrants are working 12, 16 hours a day, making $500-$600 a week. If you do the math, how much is that an hour?
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people don't even get breaks. A lot of people, don't even take a day off because they cannot, either can afford it, or, they just aren't allowed to, or, it's just things like this happen. You just don't know about.
Right.
Because it's happening to, it's happening to the people that are not speaking up, the people that are not saying anything. And when I tell you this is because I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
Again, I worked in restaurants, and I've seen how hard, let's say, the cooks work, right?
Mm-hmm.
With no air conditioning, midsummer.
Yeah.
No air conditioning, and, cooking in high temperatures. I've seen dishwashers wet head to toe, working all day. I've seen people whose family members have passed, and they're not able to go say goodbye. They're not able to, say one last, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're good people. We're good people. All we need is just a chance for you to get to know us and see that our intentions are good.
Thanks for sharing that, Katherine. No, I appreciate that. I think that because you were willing to speak up and stand up for yourself and others, that's going to have a positive impact in the world. So thanks for doing that.
I hope so.
And thanks for sharing here with our audience too.
Yeah,
we really
thank
value
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.